with 2 S's. I am strongly considering going to Canada for my psych degree. Wow. After hearing Lur talk up Victoria so much for years, I'm strongly considering the University of Victoria. Anybody who has experience with it or any other university in BC, so you're looking at BC specifically, I'd love to hear the pros of UVic or some other BC university. Let's talk about UNBC.
Wait. Move to Canada first, stay here a couple years, become a national student instead of being an international student, then worry about that.
Yeah, just give up 2 years of your life to become partially Canadian.
It will save you tens of thousands of dollars.
Tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, but it will cost you 2 years of your life.
Victoria,
Or gain you.
Victoria is expensive to live in. Vancouver is somehow more expensive to live in. That being said, I have no experience with UVic's psych department whatsoever. I have no idea what the quality of their scholarship is.
Well, we can tell you
my first instinct would be to look at UBC.
Yeah, I actually would too.
And if you can get into UBC, go with UBC because they're
pretty international.
they're really good.
But
Johnny looks like he has something to say, though.
Yeah, tell us about another university, Johnny.
Well, that's the thing is I was going to, but I was like, you know what, I don't really know about that department at all at the university I work at. I do know that it's lovely in the town and it's very affordable to live there.
Comparatively, yeah.
Comparatively, Nanaimo, Vancouver Island University is lovely and wonderful to work at, and the students seem to be happy, and the teacher-to-student ratio is really low. And I've been told that when I talk to professors there, it's like, you know, it's really nice working here because it's nice working at a university because everyone who works here really wants to have student success. Is their big thing is they think about a problem and then they say, well, let's not worry about what the best way to solve this is for, you know, various reasons. Let's think about what's the best for students. And I talk to professors and I say, you know, that's really great about working at a university because you have that there. And they're like, no, we've worked at other universities. That's not always the case. And so that is one of the really nice things about working at the school I work at is that that's what they care most about.
I have worked at colleges, so I've worked in post-secondary for a lot of my life as well, and I've worked at colleges where student focus was first. If we were buying, and I worked in IT departments, so that became, we need new labs, we need new computers on site. Well, the students get them first. They go into new labs first. Then when they come out of there and they get floated down, so last year's computer or 2 years ago computer, that gets floated down to staff and to faculty. And staff and faculty both understand when they see that, they're like, we understand that we get a machine that's slightly old. The executive even understand that they get machines that are slightly old because they're there for students first. I have worked at other colleges where faculty come before everybody else. I've worked at universities where faculty comes before everybody else. That they are higher up on the chain than students because faculty are there to do research, and thereby they need the best of everything because they figure the best of everything is what's going to make their research actually pull through, as opposed to actually.
But what's even worse is if you work at a school where administrators get the best of everything.
Oh yeah.
We had I've seen that little window in that of fix the top executive stuff first and ignore, and that's not what happens where I work. It's we actually have a coding system so this is from an IT perspective where it's the number one code is this impacts learning and everything else gets dropped. The president can't get their email or calendar or whatever, it doesn't matter. You drop it and you go and help make sure a class happens or whatever other kind of learning experience that happens. So that's nice. But you're right, that doesn't happen at every school, unfortunately.
Actually, that would feed into the bit about UBC versus UVic. I do actually have some friends who work in the psych department at UVic and had come here for some of their programs. The child psych aspect in particular was one that was fairly strong.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And in comparison, UBC is the research and administration-focused school to a certain extent. Very much driven for international students and the cash that comes from international students in our system. It is not as good of an undergrad experience. The campus is a weird setup for student life in that it's both isolated from the city, but doesn't actually have that much going on. That you have a whole bunch of comparatively empty condos.
Right.
It would depend on what your goals are getting out of it. It does have on the research aspect, you do have that more driven research program, but there's some aspects of UVic's psych program or UBC's psych program that are very traditional. There's an older cohort of professors there that has had some problems over time. That said, all of this is minutia. That email a couple of master's students and ask them.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
I mean, like, the university that I did my first degree at, UNBC, my first girlfriend studied psychology there.
Right.
And she seemed to say it was like, a fairly hard-nosed, challenging program with good results at the undergraduate level.
Okay.
And everything I've heard about UNBC, I did my English degree there, and I liked it. I thought I had some good profs and interesting course material, is that it's a very good undergraduate university.
Where is it located?
In Prince George, British Columbia.
There may be a strike against it.
Which I've
been there. The campus is really nice.
Have you been there in
campus
winter?
is really nice.
No.
No.
It's like 1,000,000 degrees below zero for a couple of months. But, I give Prince George a lot of grief, mainly because I grew up there and had to go to high school there.
Oh.
But once you're an adult in Prince George, it's fine. But don't believe anyone who says it's a fine place to raise kids. It depends on the kid.
As a kid, it is either amazing or horrible.
Yeah. It's like, do you like going skidooing? Well, then you're going to fit in great at Prince George.
I've heard that the nursing program at UVic is particularly good.
Yeah. The Northern Medical Program, I'm sure, is actually probably totally fine. But it consistently ranks pretty highly in ratings of undergraduate-focused universities. And, if you're a student in Prince George, it's probably my experience there was totally fine, right?
Yeah.
You go,
Yeah.
you have a beer at Sergeant O'Flaherty's, and you go to Books on 4th, and you have coffee there. And
Yeah. I mean, when I didn't go to school here. I went to school at the University of Alberta, and I found that the U of A, so that's Alberta, that's like province over.
Yeah.
But I found that I had a fine time doing my degree there. My father, who worked in post-secondary, even said to me, he's like, you should probably just go to the university. I'm like, well, shouldn't I do maybe my first year or something at like a Grant MacEwan Community College? And he's like, no, just go straight to university. Like, why not? He says, because having worked at colleges, he's like, sometimes classes don't transfer across, and you shouldn't have to pay for them twice. And I'm like, okay. So I got into the U of A, and I'm like, well, then I'll do my you have to do, in the business program, you had to do 1 year of pre-professional. So I had to do 1 year of the Department of Chemistry. I had to be in something.
Right.
So I just enrolled in Faculty of Science, Department of Chemistry for a year, took random courses just to get my first year out of the way. Not random, but, like all my prerequisites. And then I could start my actual transfer to school business, start my degree there. As far as UVic goes, I like UVic. When I was working there, I liked it. I thought the campus was very nice. It's pleasant. The weather is clement.
It was fine.
Yeah, it's designed like the transit system, while not stellar in Victoria, is competent.
Yeah,
and you can get to the university fairly easily from most places.
Yeah, if you're on the 4 or the 26, you're going to have a very cozy time on the bus in the morning.
Yeah, if you're on
those buses come along pretty quickly.
I lived in Victoria West, which is technically actually just Esquimalt, because that's what they called that area. And I was on the 14, and that took 40 minutes to get from where I lived. I don't live there anymore, but it took 40 minutes to get from there to UVic, and it was a single bus shot. I'm like, there's a lot designed in the city to get people to go to UVic, and if you don't want to live on campus or near campus, there are other options for you to get around the city and do that. So,
By the way, that is the first time I've ever heard someone say Victoria West.
Yeah,
not just
Vic West. Yeah. Because on the map, it's literally just Vic West, and I'm like,
Vic West is what you call Esquimalt when there's condos there.
Yes, that's true.
It's like a good $150,000 of property values. Just
I think literally two, because I lived on a street that was 3 blocks long, because it was one thing, and then it was that street, and then it was like Craig Flower at that point. And when I was living in Skinner, it was like at the end of Skinner, I think is just where the Vic West line ended and Esquimalt technically began, or something like that. It's really weird, but
those zoning lines in Vic Greater are very interesting.
You may think
I'm on a road and I'm on a different road. What happened?
We're a weird town politically. The divisions are very unusual, but I mean, and it's hard to live here because it's hard to find affordable housing if you're a student. You end up living.
To find affordable housing if you're not a student.
But yeah, you'll end up living on campus, I think, for your first year, maybe your first 2 years, and then you'll be
hard
able
to get into residence.
So there's that too, right? So that's
finding housing is hard in Victoria. living
It's
in
hard
Victoria's.
everywhere in BC, I think.
Yeah.
It might not
Yeah.
be hard
These 10
it might not be
cities,
hard in Bridge in UNBC though.
Yeah, you wind up living at the apartments that are on the corner of Fifth and the corner of Fifth Avenue and Ospika Boulevard.
Oswego?
Ospika.
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 Oh, okay.
It's one of the big cities, and those are the apartments that are just full of students, and they're like, they're those cinder block buildings that were kind of like helicoptered into various cities across northern Canada in the 1960s.
Okay, yeah, I'm feeling you. Yeah.
I was speaking not the name of a villain in some sort of RPG by this point,
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
or coming soon.
I mean, UNBC is a fine campus. It produced me, so there's the, there's its pedigree.
A+ recommendation.
Yeah.
U of A, you get people like Beach and I. Don't do that.
Well, and as a negative for UVic, they didn't continue the employment of Beach, so why would you want to go there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You won't run into me on campus.
The only thing about Victoria that you really have to watch out for is this town rolls up the sidewalks at 5 p.m. What are you doing out after dark?
Yeah, it's
At 6 p.m. Yes, my business is closed.
nightlife here is really concentrated in very small pockets, and most places are just done by 6.
Mostly bars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, the city is, like, I live in a municipality of our satellite municipality of Victoria called Oak Bay. It's a totally separate city, we'll have you know.
Yeah.
Because we have our own police department, and that guy is really bored.
Yeah.
Sorry, are they still closed on Sundays?
Yeah, Oak Bay has like all kinds of bylaws about, you're not allowed to have a gas station or something.
Did you
it seems
know
like
that if you need to call the police on the east side of the University of Victoria, you call the Oak Bay Police Department? And if you need to call the police on the west side of the University of Victoria, you have to call Sandwich Police Department because the Dividing Line City goes through the campus.
Yeah,
Yep.
they both didn't want to give up the campus, so there's actually a division line on campus that you can stand on either side and be in both sides of you can be in one city and another city at the same time.
It makes emergencies there real fun.
It's real weird. I mean, the Los Angeles Police have a detachment on campus.
Yeah.
So I figured that even if you were in the Oak Bay area of campus, which is not big, but if you're in that area of campus, San Angeles Police will come help you. I'm pretty sure they will.
Oh,
On Sundays, they're also
dawn,
contracted.
sunrise. Okay. Well, I mean, it's a minor thing. What's our name? Oh, Sora. We're still on Sora.
We're still on
okay.
Sora.
Nice. That's good.
Been waiting all night to find out.
Yeah, so if you're getting chased by the fuzz on the UVic campus because you're 18 and you've got open alcohol in your backpack, just make a run for the border.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
I'm imagining
There's no extradition laws.
the UVic Scooby-Doo scenario. You run in a building, run out of building, run in a building.
Are there
Dawn of the
other
Zeta Day.
universities in... Oh, yeah, I actually want to show this off.